Hey guys, it's Ashley, and today let's talk about all of the books that I read in May, which will not take very long because I read very few. I honestly don't know what happened. I don't know if I suddenly just got burnt out after reading so many books last month and so many pages, or if this month, for whatever reason, the books that I did read just kind of like dragged and I don't know, put me into this weird slump that I'm in, but for some reason it's just taking me forever to get through books now. So I have 2 books that I read in May, which is way far left field from, you know, how my reading months have been this year, which I'm not mad about it by any means, but I just feel like when I don't read, I don't have the motivation to make videos, which is why I haven't uploaded in like a week, and it's just this vicious cycle that I always get myself caught in, but I'm not going to talk to you guys about that anymore because that's my own problem. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into what I read this month. So I'll talk about the books first, and then I will talk about any other things like webtoons, which I did end up reading more of this month afterward. So the first book that I ended up finishing this month was The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell. This is the second book in the Last Magician series, and this was a reread for me. So I reread this book to prepare for The Serpent's Curse, which is the third book that has already been out, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the video. Yeah, I reread this book, and honestly, I think that this book had a bit to contribute to my current reading slump and my current burnout, because this book honestly dragged just a bit more than I remember it doing. And when I say drag, I don't mean that I didn't like it or anything like that. I just meant that it was a very slow read for me. Like, I genuinely think that I took 2.5 weeks to get through this book, which did not happen. The first time that I read it, I think I flew through it in like literally less than 2 days. I don't know what it was. I still enjoyed the story, but there were definitely parts of it that I was like very, very bored during. And I'm not sure if that was because they were just boring scenes or if it was because I already knew what was going to happen. I don't have an explanation for this, you guys, but I can say that I still do like this series, and I'm very happy that I reread it to prepare for the third book because there were so many things that I had forgotten. Like so many things. So very happy about that. This was one of the books that I read this month, and that's it! And so the second book that I ended up reading this month was The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. I said that I was finally going to start rereading the series in May, and I did. I finally did, and I have a reading vlog up for this, so if you missed it, I will leave it linked down below where you can watch it. This was so wonderful to be back in this world, and I have been itching to start The Son of Neptune and to start vlogging it, but like I said, I've just kind of lost all motivation for video making recently, so I want to wait until I'm very, like, you know, energized and motivated to want to vlog before I start reading that book, you know what I mean? But yeah, being back in this series, being back in this world, it just brought back so many good memories, so I was really happy that I read it this month because it definitely did energize me a little bit, but not enough to get any of myself in gear like I have been reading. So it is what it is. We all have off months, but yeah, I don't know why May hit me so hard, but this book definitely helped at least a little bit. And so the book that I'm currently in the middle of is The Serpent's Curse by Lisa Maxwell, which I said I would talk about. Now I'm talking about it. I did just start this book, I want to say a couple days ago. I'm very slowly working my way through it. First of all, this is the dust jacket, obviously, but the book is massive. It's so much bigger than I thought it was going to be, and big books usually are not a problem for me as I am a very fast reader, but for some reason these books are just taking me so long to read. So I don't know if I'm going to take a breather and like maybe focus on other books and like read multiple things at the same time, or if I'm just going to, you know, constantly read a little bit each day of this and see what happens. But at this point, I think I'm 200 pages in and I still have so much more to go. And the book is really good so far, but I just want all of the characters to get back together. You know, like I want it to be back how it was in the first book. The first book in this series was so good. And I think because the characters have been apart from one another for so long, there are so many misunderstandings and different things that they believe that are happening that are not actually happening. I just want them to be together again and all of those misunderstandings to be cleared and everything to be okay, because the first book was so good because of that. And now that we're all separated and in different places, I'm just like, so I just want them to be back together. Granted, the part that I'm at right now, something big and exciting just happened, so I'm hoping that the story will start ramping up and I'll start wanting to like read it constantly. And a lot of you have told me that this is a really good book, so those should be enough to get me through. So those were all of the books that I read this month. That was it. Like I said, very slumpy, very unmotivated reading month, but we all have our off months, so it's totally fine. But I did end up reading some new webtoons that you guys recommended me, so I will go through some of those now. And if you have not been aware, I have been very invested in Webtoon recently. It's basically just an app where you can read different graphic novels and comics and stories that people upload to it. It's wonderful, and there are so many cool things and so many great artists and writers and all of that that, you know, have created some of these series. So really excited to talk about some of them, and let's go through them real quick. So I think the one that I mentioned in my wrap up last month, or my TBR last month, I can't remember, was Purple Hyacinth. So many of you had recommended that I start Purple Hyacinth on Webtoon, and oh my god, how did I wait so long to read this? And how did I not find this earlier? This Webtoon is so good. It's so good. Oh my god. Like, I literally cannot explain. It is the slow burn enemies to lovers romance that I want. In the beginning of the month, I caught up to where the story has currently been published up until, and so now I'm having to like wait week after week for the new installments to come out. I apologize if some of my like details as to how the story started are a bit fuzzy. Long story short, the story is about a girl named Lauren who is a police officer and a guy who is an assassin who goes by the alias the Purple Hyacinth, and they end up secretly undercover working together in order to bring down this bigger assassination order of sorts, and it's so good. Not only do you want to just like root for the main characters and find out more about their backstories and what happened to them and, you know, obviously what's going to come, but also the side characters are just amazing. Like, Kim is wonderful, and the blonde guy, whatever his name was, I can't remember, Will, that's his name. Amazing. I love him. Every little plot twist and turn, like the slow burn romance I think that I already mentioned, and especially the artwork. Some of the artwork in this story is so beautiful and just so well done, like just and then every episode comes with music in the background so you can really get like into the feeling and the vibe of the story. So good. Highly recommend if you are on Webtoon and you haven't read it yet, or if you are, you know, new to Webtoon and you don't know what to start with and you like mystery thriller kind of things, read it. It's so good. So the second story that I ended up starting was one that a lot of you also recommended to me. It was very highly recommended, and that was Brass and Sass. So Brass and Sass is one of the more like wholesome webtoons and stories that I've read on this platform. It's really sweet and cute and funny. It follows this high schooler named Camilla who is just, you know, going about her day, and she hears the jazz band play one day and becomes obsessed with joining the band and playing the trumpet and becoming really good. And there is this one guy in the band named Victor who is like the, you know, top French horn player. He's like, you know, super experienced and, you know, has a background and all of that, and she wants to like play like him. And so there's kind of like this like enemies to lovers thing going on, but also like a lot of other like, you know, high school shenanigans and things happening, and it's just so fun and, like I said, so wholesome. Highly recommend if you want something just super cute to read, super cute romance, and it's great. It's great. I don't have any other words. Also, I'm learning a lot about high school bands, apparently. And so the last story that I ended up starting this month on Webtoon was one that also I think came recommended, but I think at the time that I asked for recommendations, the story was on hiatus and it recently came back. So I can't remember if you guys recommended me this or where I heard this from, but anyway, the story that I'm talking about is I Love You, Y-O-O, not Y-O-U. Despite this being like a really popular webtoon on the app, I just have mixed feelings about this one for some reason. When I first started it, I thought that it was really good and I really enjoyed it and became like, you know, obsessed with knowing what was going to happen, but somewhere between like midway through to 3/4 of the way through, I just started like skimming through a lot of the scenes that had to do with certain characters because a lot of it was just super repetitive and was just like super unnecessary, and I was like, what does this have to do with the plot whatsoever? Like, can we just get on with it? Specifically, I'm talking about a lot of conversations with the mother, which I just don't like at all, and they always take up way too much time and are totally irrelevant. And also Kasuke, if I'm saying that right, a lot of his conversations, if you've read this story, just bore me to death, like literally to death, and I just skim through them. I will continue to read it, but I will continue to skim through the really boring parts that I feel like I've already read before.
I don't know what happened to the audio here, but those are all the books I read.
Granted, I will say that while a good portion of the reason that I was not reading a lot this month was because I was a bit burnt out from all of my reading reading last month. Another reason was because I've been working on writing a lot recently. I have been, you know, consistently writing every day. Yeah, a lot of my time has been taken up with that recently rather than reading other people's stories, so definitely not mad about it in any way. If anything, I'm really happy that I'm putting so much effort into my writing recently, but I would really like to get back into reading more as well. But I just have to try to find a balance between the two, and then hopefully I will be satisfied. If you guys read a really good book this month or have read any of the things that I read and want to talk about them, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, I think that's going to be it for this video. So if you want to follow me on any of my socials, all my handles are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye!